All right, so obviously you remove the skid plate, just 10mm bolts underneath the vehicle. Okay, front of the vehicle, here's your transmission. We're gonna come up right over here. Okay, there is the transfer case drain bolt. And then right here is the fill bolt. That requires a 10mm hex socket. Okay, so the 24mm that I had right here, which I believe it's a 24mm, there's a little ridge here that if your socket is a little thick, you're not going to be able to stick it all the way in here. So I have a 1-inch socket, and then an extension, and then the breaker bar. Okay, so get your measuring cup ready. Okay, unless you have a long extension for this bolt, you're not going to have a lot of leverage under here. I don't have a half-inch extension that good, and I don't feel like putting all the adapters on, but I've already loosened it, so this will be good for where we're at. Okay. All right. So as you can see, currently draining it out now. I'm gonna measure, see what we got. So the transfer case, it says at 16, but I dropped a little as I was draining it out. So I'm gonna safely put it around the 17-18 ounce mark, and that's what I'm gonna put back in. Okay, now we're inspecting the transfer case drain bolt, and yeah, not looking too good. Guys, for the transfer case, you're probably gonna have to make a run to Harbor Freight really to get this thing out, and I'll show you why. This is just my setup. If you have an easier way to doing it, cool, but this is just what worked for me. I have my breaker bar, a 3/8 adapter to go onto the breaker bar, I think it's about a 9-inch extension, a 3/8 swivel socket, and then a 10mm hex screw, which I had to get from Harbor Freight. So. All right, guys, the transfer case is, I promise you, the hardest part, but once you get past through it, rear differential and the transmission fluid is nothing on this. You're gonna have to do a lot of specialized, stupid shit here to get this thing off, but okay, you might need to stand it up on something to put the fluid back, but now you put it inside the drain bolt. And pump away. Okay, for the rear differential, this is the easiest part of all the fluid changes. You'll want a breaker bar, an extension, 24mm socket, your socket wrench, and then your pump. I went with Redline differential oil. It's the GL5 Hypoid. This is what's recommended for both the transfer case and the rear differential. You don't have to go with Redline, but I like Redline. So come from the bottom. All right. And then locate the rear differential. So rear axle right here. There's the drain plug, 24mm. And then there is the fill plug, 24mm. Okay, so I started by loosening the fill plug with the breaker bar. You get leverage going to your right. So just, yeah, use this side. It's fine, you just need to free it, and then you can bring the socket wrench in here. All right, now for the drain plug, got your breaker bar, your socket. You just want to pop it open because they are tight, and then get it little. There we go. All right. All right. Yeah, this thing was definitely needing a little TLC. So you should replace your washers. Replace your washers, but yeah, whatever. Clean it with some brake parts. The book recommends 0.56 to 0.67 quarts, which once you calculate that, it comes out to about 21 fluid ounces. So we're gonna do that. There it is. And just keep going until you are completed. All right, once you tighten your bolts down, just clean them off with a little brake cleaner. Okay, before you put the skid plate on, I would go for a drive for about 10 minutes or so. Inspect for leaks on your way back. Check all the bolts, make sure everything's good. So some feedback I got from my transmission fluid change video is that, you know, I didn't provide torque specs, but the thing about these aluminum cases is even with the torque specs, they require a range. So it's up to you to decide what you want to torque it to. Like for instance, the drain plug on the rear differential can be anywhere between 30 to 42 foot-pounds. And then the fill plug can be anywhere from 35 to 38. And I'm not a fan of ranges if I don't know the exact numbers, so I'm just going to hand tighten them with a little extra grip. I'm sure some people will complain about that, but I've had no problems on the transmission fluid change.